Whatever you're into when it comes to sports, you can find it right here. Now, play my intro. Now it's time for the Robb Johnson Sports Show, presented by Robb Johnson Media and the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Robb Johnson, the Robb Johnson Sports Show. You can find me here, Legacy Maker Sports Network, on Facebook and YouTube. I'm here with the great Larry Patterson with all his great content from football, basketball, and many more things coming in the future. Larry, how are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good, sir. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I'm here for episode 82. You're here for episode 82. And, brother, let's get into it. Let's get into the first topic. 15 years, was it $765 million? The talk of the town, Juan Soto, the champion from the Washington Nationals, goes to San Diego, comes to the Yankees, has 41 home runs, dominates, gets the Yankees to the World Series, and they lose to the Dodgers in the World Series. You are expecting Juan Soto to come back to the Yankees. He does not. Sir, unleash. Tell the world how you feel right now about Juan Soto going to the rival New York Mets and what this means for baseball and this Subway Series rivalry.
Well, you hope that it brings more excitement to the game of baseball. As far as how I felt, like I was hurt off of it a little bit, because I wanted Soto to come back. But seeing how it came down to basically like what, $5 million, right? It came down to $5 million in a suite or something like that.
Yep.
If you wanna take it like that, hey man, I'm fine with it. Something tells me that when the Mets make moves like these, like in the long run, it doesn't work out. So we saw that with like your Eunice Cespedes a couple years ago. A couple other players that come from the Yankees and go over to the Mets. It just for some reason it seems like when the Mets go all out and they go out for that big free agent signing, like it doesn't really work out like that. Look how long it took for Francisco Lindor to come together this season, and he been struggling the first part of the season. So I'm fine with it, and I saw a video on Facebook where it had all Juan Soto's misses in the outfield. Not a true good outfielder, but I mean, you know what? I felt bad off of it at first, but I mean, it is what it is now. I think that this could be for the best.
Larry, let me ask you a question, sir. How many times has Aaron Judge been to the World Series without Juan Soto?
None.
How many championships does Aaron Judge have?
0.
How many does Juan Soto have?
He's got 1.
Was it on a non-super team when Bryce Harper left the team? Yeah,
no,
Bryce Harper left and went to Philadelphia, and that's when that Washington team won the World Series. I just need people to understand this. People and Yankees fans, I've been a defender of the Yankees. You know, you're a Yankee fan, but my problem, folks, is this. The Yankees, I've always said, need to be in the national spotlight for baseball to get back to where it needs to be. But the pettiness, the ignorance I've seen, talking about what this guy's done in the right field, do you guys see what he did for the Yankees this past year? If they had played the Astros, they would have beat the Astros for the first time in forever in the playoffs. The Yankees were actually a team that I feel like they would have beat the Astros this year. If they would have played the Astros in the playoffs, they would have probably beaten them. Now, going forward, I can't really tell you, Larry, what they're going to do because the AL is getting better. The Guardians are getting better continuously. The Red Sox are going to continue to get better. They played very well this year. They're going to get better. The Blue Jays are going to get better. All these teams are going to get better. You know the Rays aren't going to be down forever. These teams will be back. And this is the thing I look at when I look at Juan Soto. He got them to the World Series, 41 home runs. He had over 100 RBIs, etc. I put a post up and I said that this was for the King of New York. This is going to be the battle for the King of New York. I feel like that Juan Soto wants to be the king of New York.
Mm.
And if you're Aaron Judge, this is your time to step up, sir. You got your big contract a few years ago. What are you going to do? What are you going to do as a baseball player to, and are you going to be like the company man, or are you going to come out here and you're going to show us some emotion? Are you going to show us something that into the effect of, hey, I need to take control of this thing? Because what the Yankees have done in this offseason so far, Larry, if you've noticed, they're going after pitching. And pitching has to matter. And they're doing that for one reason, because they feel like they can match up with the Los Angeles Dodgers, because they expect the Dodgers to be back in the World Series. Let's be honest. Who in the National League do you expect to be in the World Series besides the Dodgers for the next 4 years? Be honest.
The Dodgers, really?
The Dodgers. I mean, unless the Braves have a miracle, or unless the Mets have a miracle, and that's the thing. The Mets are a team that I feel like can challenge the Dodgers. Remember, they challenged them this past year, and they didn't even have Juan Soto. And I understand he has his issues in right field, but when you talk about a guy who, at 18, 19 years old, won a World Series championship, a guy who came to New York with all the pressure, what pressure? What pressure?
He's an absolute assassin at the plate. You know,
Yes.
I don't. That's one little petty nugget I had to throw. But other than that, like I mean, I really didn't want to lose the guy. But I agree with everything you just said.
Well, when you look at that duo, when you look at Aaron Judge, my boy, my cousin there, Timmy Tyrell. What's going on, bro? What's going on, my bro? He's like he's a Mets fan. We need Pete back. We need Pete Alonso back for sure. But I look at my cousin there, and I look at the other Mets fans out there. The Mets are in prime position. And I think that, Larry, and I know this is a little off topic, but I think we got to start talking in the future about the Philadelphia Phillies and can they get it done? Remember, they were the team that was supposed to get it done, and they have not been able to get it done.
Yeah,
Bryce Harper came over to Philadelphia to win a championship. Now you got Juan Soto. You know the Braves are going to get better. You know what I'm saying? And I've already told you about the Nationals. The Nationals are coming, my friend. They already got a couple of first-round picks. The Nationals are going to be an issue. So this could be a Mets, Braves, Nets / Philadelphia Phillies division. I mean, it's going to be a tough division going forward. So when I look at that division and I look at the Mets, I think the Mets are the head of that division right now, even above the Phillies. The Phillies can win as many regular season games as they want to. It's like a trend in Philadelphia. It's like you got Joel Embiid, you got the Phillies. They win all these regular season games. It doesn't matter. Juan
right.
Soto and the Mets are the ones who take advantage in the postseason. But going off that, what do you think overall? Do you think that we're looking at a clash between the New York Mets and the New York Yankees in the World Series, possibly in 2025? Do you think it's going to take a couple more years?
I think it's going to take a couple more years because I think like what you were talking about with the Dodgers earlier, like who is
Yeah,
really going to contend with the Dodgers? I think the Dodgers window is not done yet, and all still depending on what the Mets still do in the off season. Um, but yeah, I see somebody say Pete. They need Pete back. Yeah,
Pete Alonso back, and I
yeah,
totally agree with that.
yeah,
I think Pete Alonso is a critical piece for the New York Mets.
yeah. But I think for right now, it's still the king of the mountain in the NL. It's still the Dodgers. No matter who else is below that, whether it's
Yeah,
the Padres, whether it's the Mets, the Braves, or whatever. Even the Cubs, they signed Kyle Tucker the other day, so I mean they're
yeah,
improving as well too. So
yeah.
that NL is looking real strong, but the Dodgers are still king.
And Larry, because and by the way, breaking news: the Bucks are going to the finals for the Cup. They beat the Atlanta Hawks. Baseball, as you can see, the momentum is there. And this is what we've been trying to push for the last couple of years. It's like, hey, look, guys, the momentum for baseball is there. It has to be. It has to. It's there, and it needs to seep through. Now, you look at a game, for example, Friday night, May the 16th. They return, and he returns to the Bronx to play the New York Yankees. What does that game, even though it's an early season game, what does that game mean? And does baseball have to treat that game like Yankees Red Sox in the early 2000s, 90s game? Do they need to treat it like that? Do they need to make that game? You know how you hyped up the Yankees versus Dodgers game this past season?
Yeah,
Does baseball need to hype that game to a point of no return?
for a regular season now.
It has to be. Larry, come on. You got Juan Soto coming back. The bad blood. You're talking about the king of New York. I mean,
Well,
when
yeah, well, yeah, for that, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because I know when
It'll
that game
definitely
comes,
be
I
heavy
know.
rotation.
Yeah, I know
Like,
when that game comes, I know if when me and you do a show or whatnot, even especially when we announce our new podcast we're doing, we'll probably be doing that by then. I'll be doing this show separately, but I mean, that has to be like the king of New York. That has
yeah,
to be like the whole, hey, let's hype this game up, let's make this because regular season still matters, and I think that type of game
yeah,
for these two franchises is important.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think the promotion on that will be really, how ESPN does with the promotion. I think the promotion would definitely be big on that one. So yeah, I take that back. It'll definitely be big for that. Yeah,
It has to be huge. In my opinion, it has to be huge because if you can't get people excited for this type of situation, what can you really get people excited for baseball for? All right, topic
absolutely.
2, ladies and gentlemen. This goes out to a couple of my people out there. We talk about Cody Stewart. We talk about Russ Alafaro. We talk about uh, Mr. M. I'm gonna call him Mr. M. I'm not gonna say his full name, but he knows who I'm talking about out there. The New York Giants. Again, another hallmark franchise of the National Football League. No offense to the Raiders, but right now, Larry, the Raiders are just kind of out there. So we're going to anticipate that the Raiders, right now as we stand, the Raiders would take a Shador Sanders #1, or they might do something crazy. Who knows? So with the #2 overall pick, if let's just say that the Raiders get Shador Sanders, or let's just say the Giants #1, and let's just say they're #1, who do you choose at that #1 spot if you're the New York Giants? Even though we know their history with not picking certain quarterbacks, what do the Giants do at that #1 spot if they get that #1 spot?
This is the year that you take your franchise and you go down a different road and you take Shador Sanders. I think you have to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it, Rob. What other? You just Daniel Jones. That was the last quarterback you drafted. You see how that happened.
Well,
You see how that
and, and,
happened.
and let me stop you there, Larry. We told people, if you listen, and I'm sure, I don't know if you were telling people back in the day about Daniel Jones, what was it, 2017, 2018? I just wasn't a fan. I saw him play in person against Miami when he was with Duke. I think he had like 340 yards, but it wasn't impressive. It was garbage time yards. Do you think that New York is ready for Shador Sanders? Do you think that the New York Giants organization, because listen, for real, because listen, and this is the reason it's such a deep topic, because this is the same franchise who couldn't handle Odell Beckham Jr. because of his flash, his pizzazz, his over the top thinking. Shador is like 10 times worse than that.
Oh
So
man.
what are you gonna do if you are the New York Giants and you couldn't handle Odell? What the hell are you gonna do with Shador Sanders? And do you bring Deion on? Because you can't bring Dayball back. I mean, I would love to see
Yeah.
Dayball. I would love to see Dayball with Shador Sanders because he has a good mind, Dayball does. But you can't bring Brian Dayball back. So are you bringing on Deion Sanders? Who is going to be your coach for the Giants?
So let me ask you that, like, so you don't think there's a chance that they can bring him back, that they can bring him back off that, especially the way that he likes to push the ball down the field. I think
I,
it'll
I,
be
really,
a
I really wish they would, but knowing the Giants and the decision making that they've made over the years, you got to question and say to yourself,
I
because
I
remember they got
agree.
rid of Jerry Reese, and then their GM since then have been complete and absolute trash. It's been
Yeah.
trash. Their decision making has been horrible. See, and I just told a Giants fan about this other day, and this is the dilemma you run into. Cam Ward is New York Giants ready. He is the type of guy. He is the type of guy that is New York. I feel like hardworking. He was a 0-star. He's going to be in the Heisman Trophy. But then Shador is the antithesis of what the Giants are. But Cam Ward fits everything of what that team is. But here's the other dilemma you have, Larry. Do you pass over Travis Hunter? That's the other thing you have to in your mind. It's like, man, Travis Hunter, or do we even Will Johnson, who's a corner from Michigan? He's a corner, and you would never pick a corner #1, but you would pick. But Travis is an athlete. They have him listed as an athlete on here on the website. But Will Johnson is so daggone. There are so many players on top of this draft where it's going to be so consequential that if you pass these guys and doesn't work out who you draft, that's going to be the issue. Because
I
the
can't
Giants
wait.
have had so many hit and misses.
I can't wait till we get into like draft season and all that.
And the
Man,
draft is actually in April this year, so it's going to be quicker. That's the other thing. It's not going to be in May this year. The actual draft is taking place in April. So once January, February hits, man, it's going to go quick. So we're looking at me, you doing a couple of mocks before the draft. But if you're the Giants, do you really think that organization can handle Shedeur Sanders?
I think you have to have a plan in place when you're drafting the Shedeur Sanders. And Dion, of course, he's in college, but he's going to make sure his son is in the best situation. And
Yes.
we know that the Giants have not had the best offensive line in years. I know they've had Andrew Thomas is an exception, and I mean, but
He was
other than
hurt
that,
this
like,
year. He got hurt this year, and we see the effects of that.
yeah. So I mean, that is one thing that's one thing they're gonna have to do. Whether you bring in a Cam Ward or whether you bring in a Shedeur Sanders, like, you got to fix that line, man. Um, Look at how many years Minnesota was bad with an offensive line. That was a
Yes.
lot of
Yes.
years.
Horrible.
And some
Horrible.
some teams some teams do not have that draft factor, that signing free agents. Some teams just do not have that. But this year, I'm telling you, if they draft Shador, they're gonna have to change their whole landscape of how they do things in their franchise, bro. They're
I
gonna have to.
agree. I agree. But look, I'm gonna give you a scenario for the Giants, and I put this out there as well. A guy like let's say they draft a Cam Ward. Do you bring a Shane Dawson in from the University of Miami, who's the offensive coordinator? Do you bring him in as your possible head coach or even your possible offensive coordinator? You look at the Jets' former head coach; he would be a great defensive coordinator for the Giants. He'd be absolutely terrific. But this is my scenario when I looked at possibly drafting Shedeur Sanders if they get Shedeur Sanders. Because, again, we don't know if the Raiders will have the one or the Giants. Depends on who finishes. But let's just say they get a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I've already said you're not getting McMillan. McMillan's going to go early. So if you, from Arizona, he's a big receiver. He's 6'5",
Yeah, yeah.
212, man. I watched McMillan earlier this year, man. He is really good, and he didn't really have good quarterback play. But if you are the New York Giants, this is what you do, in my opinion. You already have Malik Neighbors. You got to be smart about this, guys. You draft either one of those quarterbacks. What's the next step? You go back into the first round and you get our guy that me and you have talked about a long time, Luther Burton, the third out of Missouri. You bring him in, you put him with Shedeur. You already have pieces at wide receiver that you don't value, that I think that could really benefit from those guys. So you bring that guy in, man. I mean, you change the whole trajectory of your offense right there. Everything
And
changes right there.
And I'm gonna say another thing. Yesterday we saw the Malik Neighbors and Shedeur Sanders throwing the ball in New York.
That
Tossing the
wasn't on
ball.
accident. That wasn't on accident. That was not on
Yeah,
accident.
I'm telling you,
So somebody knows something.
right?
Somebody knows something. So if right now, and we can go and we can even go right now and look at the standings. I believe the Raiders have less wins than the Giants, and that's why they are sitting at that number one spot. But for me, Larry,
They got the same amount of wins.
they've got the same amount of wins. Okay, so and then you look at it, it's almost a situation where you're looking at which team is trying to tank more, right? Yeah, because you're right. Both teams have what, 2 wins, 2-11. So right now it's about tanking for the rest of the season. Who is going to tank to get one of these players? But as I also told a Giants fan last night, Larry, it would also be the most Giant thing ever for them to go get James Pierce Jr. Even though he's one hell of a defensive end out of Tennessee, even though he can ball his what off on the field, it would be the most Giant thing ever. Because what my biggest fear of the Giants, and where I'm going with this, my biggest fear of the Giants is that they're not looking at these two quarterbacks. They're looking at next year and getting Arch Manning, which I think would be such a mistake, because I like Arch. He's a talented, athletic player. But you have got to understand that you can get one of these two guys, especially Shedeur, change your whole offense and your franchise. You can't worry about the outside noise. And then you got these little ignorant Giants fans out there talking about, he's a headache and he's a distraction. When are you guys going to come into the 21st century? That's the problem, Giants. When are you going to come into the 21st century?
Might as well.
And if you talk bad enough about him, Coach Prime's not going to want him to even come to New York or Jersey. So make your mind up.
You need a quarterback.
Yes. We know
And
this. But
and
this is the
and,
same
and
franchise who paid Daniel Jones, who had 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Okay? Like, this is the same franchise who did that and did not pay Saquon. And I've told you, I was not a fan of Saquon coming out because of all the mileage he put on at Penn State. And I felt that he had issues, etc. But it's known. He wasn't going to work out in New York. He's in Philly. He's having a great year. Congratulations. But they should have at least paid him, maybe gave him at least a 2 or 3 year deal before. They should have, bottom line, they should have paid him before they paid Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was a liability. Daniel Jones was protected by Brian Daboll, and now he's going to get fired behind Daniel Jones. It's so bad they released this man. This man just got paid, won a playoff game, and got released.
Yeah.
Okay? That's how bad it is, man.
And I want to say another thing that's going to add pressure to the situation. You already had your star wide receiver complain in the media. You already heard it this year. Do you
As
want
a
another?
rookie, his first
Do
year.
you want another year of that? Do you want another year of that?
Larry,
I don't think so.
Larry, my friend, I'll say this. NIL has changed the game a lot. These young guys coming into this league. But see, that's the thing. The money, I not really can't say NIL's changed because the money was always there. It's just that there are rumors that was under the table. So So now we just see the transactions. You know what I'm saying? And then the transfer portal, NIL is really not a big deal because, like I said, the money's always been there. You feel me? It's just the transfer portal which has really changed things. That money's always been there. You know, you can't tell me Alabama the money ain't always been there because who really wants? You know what I mean? So yeah.
It's just that transfer portal. It's like I'm not happy here. Let's go. I'm ready to go.
If you're Malik Neighbors, and let's say they do not draft the quarterback of the future, going into next year, do you request a trade?
A trade as soon as they make that pick, and it's not a quarterback. You request a trade right then and there. They don't wait. They don't wait. They don't go into training camp. None of that.
I hate to say it, but you're 1,000% right. You're the Giants. You have a chance at Travis Hunter, Cameron Ward, who I'll make sure I get the picture of me and him going into the future. That's I was standing up with the number 1, 2, or number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft.
Man, I hope he win the Heisman tonight just for that, man.
Man, he's not gonna win it, man. But I'm telling you, I think that a guy like Cam Ward would fit New York, would fit the Giants so well. Like he would. Let me put it to you like this: Cam Ward would be the Donovan McNabb to what he was to the Philadelphia Eagles back in the day. That's how much respect I have for Cam Ward. It's not because he went to Miami. It's because he was a 0-star, went to JUCO, went to Washington State, and damn near led the Miami Hurricanes to the college football playoff. If it hadn't been for whatever they were doing in that committee room or whatever. But just last word on this. So, what do you think the Giants ultimately do? Do they go quarterback or do they screw over their fans once again? It's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate question. And it's sad to say it.
I think they screw their fans over.
Wow.
And I think Malik Neighbors requested a trade right there as soon as that pick is made.
Wow.
I don't know who it is. They might go offensive lineman or whatever. I don't know. But I know one thing. If they don't make that right pick, request a trade. Get out of there.
Wow. That's crazy.
There's no sense in wasting your sophomore season being unhappy and trying to hide it and then throwing subliminal shots at the media when you're not happy. Go ahead, request that shit right now.
Oh, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Now, let's get to our third topic of the day, being tomorrow's top games. And just to remind you folks, we got 2 top-tier games on tomorrow. And before I get to that, let me also let everybody know that tomorrow you can catch me, Robb Johnson, at the Richmond versus number 6 Texas women's basketball. That game is on ESPN+. Number 6 Texas at the Robins Center when they play the Lady Spiders from Richmond. That is at 1 p.m. tomorrow. You can check that out. And at 4 p.m. we have Lions, Bills, and we have Eagles and Steelers. Before we get to that, let's get to our quick commercial where we show your love for your guy here, Larry Patterson, and all the work he does. Check out Game Time 365 Sports on the Game Time Sports Network. Larry Patterson bringing the heat to you every single time. I don't think y'all heard him. Check out Game Time 365 Sports on the Game Time Sports Network. Larry Patterson bringing the heat to you every single time.
I like that beat, man.
Speaking of heat, tomorrow on CBS we have Buffalo against Detroit. And Larry, the history of this series is very interesting. It goes back all the way to 1972. The Bills lead this series 7-4-1. In 72, the game was tied at 21. In 76, it looks like the Lions won 27-14. I'm not going to go through the whole history, but basically what I'm getting at is in 1994, it was a 14-point win by the Detroit Lions. But other than that, Larry, it's just been a bunch of one-score games. There's been a bunch of great games, including last year's game on Thanksgiving when the Buffalo Bills beat the Lions 28-25. Now, the reason that's important, I'm sorry. I don't think that was the Thanksgiving game. That wasn't Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. But when you look at that game that was 2022. Yeah, that was Thanksgiving 2022. And if you look back at that 2022 game, the whole landscape of the Lions started to change after that season. You know, you're looking at the Dan Campbells of the world. You're looking at how they started playing football, getting Jared Goff. Like, the Lions have really started to change before our eyes. When you look at this game tomorrow, Buffalo, who gave up 44 points to the Rams, and then you look at their run defense, which is horrible. This game for Buffalo almost feels like the game where they beat Dallas last year and they went in and just destroyed Dallas on the run, and we realized, hey, they're not going to do anything in the playoffs. This is critical for the Buffalo Bills. Everybody wants to give them the lovable title and the lovable Buffalo Bills, but this is a must-win for them. But for both teams, but for me especially, the Buffalo Bills. What do you think?
Do you? Okay, so say if the Bills win this game, does that put them in? That does put them in the number one situation, right? I mean,
as far as in our minds or in actual real life, no, because the Chiefs still hold a 2-game lead as far as
okay. So I mean, to call it must win.
Because you have to get to that home field advantage. You know the Chiefs could slip up at any time. That home field advantage to have that championship game in Buffalo was huge. You have got to have that championship game in Buffalo.
Yeah. You do, but who's to say that this team with all the playoff drowns for the last couple of seasons. I mean, shit. Joe Burrow just went up there a couple years ago and beat him at home in a snowstorm, right?
Yeah.
So, I think with this team, I think with this Bills team, this team is kind of fit to go on the road to one of those road teams in the playoffs and kind of get things because I mean they got the experience, throughout the years, they got the experience of letdowns. And but just from watching sports yourself over the years, this is the kind of team that can do that.
I agree with you, but let's also look at this. Yes, they went to Seattle and beat the Seahawks, but you and I are still not true believers of the NFC West. Even though we like Arizona, we know that the NFC West has its flaws. I want to go back, Larry, to September 29th when they went to Baltimore. 35-10. To me, Larry, all these other games that they played really doesn't matter. Derrick Henry tonight went for 199 yards on 24 carries. They got to go to Detroit tomorrow against that team, against that running game. By the way, Jared Goff has better numbers than Josh Allen. Just wanted to throw it out there. 25-10. Josh Allen has 23-5. Okay.
So you were talking about. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said that running game with Jahmyr Gibbs and crew. That running game is something serious. That running game is going to give the Buffalo Bills problems, and we need the Buffalo Bills to prove us that they can do. Look at that they can actually go in and take care of this team, because when you're looking at Montgomery, who has 771 yards, When you're looking at Gibbs, who has 1,006 yards on the 16 yards on the season, you're looking at two running backs who damn near going to have over 1,000 yards. If they
Yeah,
gash Buffalo tomorrow, we're gonna have more questions about Buffalo than anything. See, beating Kansas City in the regular season, it's great. It means nothing.
yeah.
Can you beat them in the postseason?
That's really what it
Beating
matters.
Kansas City, beating Kansas City made Buffalo feel so good. Oh, Josh Allen's MVP. He beat Patrick Mahomes in the doesn't matter. He's almost the Joel Embiid of the NFL. It doesn't matter, man, until you do it in the postseason. At least he's been to an AFC Championship game, I believe. But can you do it in the postseason? The MVPs mean nothing when it comes to Josh Allen. He's done a heck of a job with the cast he has around him. We also got to give James Cook a lot of love.
A
We
lot
got
of
to
love.
give Cook a lot of love. He's had one heck of a season. But,
He's got 723 yards, 11 touchdowns.
yeah,
Yep.
only 157 carries. You know what I mean? So he's been very big going back to last year. But if you look at this game tomorrow, and we're gonna have Nance and Romo on the call, which is gonna be a lot better than the call on Fox with Tom Brady. Lord have mercy. Hopefully Brady can get together by tomorrow. But when you look at this game overall, you look at Josh Allen. Do you think, like people were yelling at the Rams game, Josh Allen's the MVP? How did he lost the game? What I think like people just make exceptions for certain players at times because, like I said, it's the lovable Buffalo Bills. There are other teams that they're just so lovable, like the Cincinnati Bengals. You have other teams that people just want to have success. But the bottom line is they're still 2 games out of position of getting home field advantage. And let's be honest, Larry, if they don't, I'll be real about this as well. Your Broncos, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that the Broncos get in the playoffs and have to go to Buffalo on a wild card weekend. I wouldn't put out my mind that they could beat Buffalo.
I don't like our chances in that.
You don't like
I
the
like
chance?
our
I
I like
I
our
love your
chances.
chances in that.
I like our chances against anybody else, but Buffalo, I don't
You
know.
don't you don't you don't look at Buffalo as a little bit of an overrated football team, a little bit.
I mean,
Because when we
I
go
look at
back
them
to that
not as
Ravens
not
game,
perfect.
when we go back to that Baltimore game, Baltimore handled them. And outside the Seattle game and Kansas City, I'm not saying that Kansas City is overrated. I'm not saying Buffalo's overrated. What I'm saying is that they have holes. And
Yeah,
I feel like at times Josh Allen, if you ask him to do too much and you do not stick to the game plan, that's when Buffalo gets in trouble.
I feel like one thing that's gonna hurt Buffalo tomorrow, and I think you already talked about it, the run defense. Now you
Yeah.
look at the last 2 weeks. 153 to the 49ers,
Wow.
and then 137 to the Rams last week.
And that was in a snowstorm.
Even you're right, right. Even like the Chiefs put one. Chiefs put 78 on you, but the weeks before that, the Colts put 121. The Dolphins 149. You let the Jets put 121 on you, and even in early 271 against the Ravens. That's expected. But the first 2 weeks of the season against the Cardinals and the Dolphins, 124, 139. Like
Yeah.
you letting a lot of numbers go in that run defense, man.
Yeah.
And so
And the
you could
reason,
definitely
yeah.
look at Montgomery and Gibbs will definitely have a good damn day tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the reason this game is critical, you got 10 wins. If you win this game tomorrow, you'll have 11 wins on the season. And you got the Patriots, Jets, and you're at the Patriots last game of the season. You can possibly have 14 wins. Now, when you go to Kansas City's schedule, Kansas City is what? Again, 2 games up on the Buffalo Bills. They have a 12-1 record. Who does Kansas City play? Kansas City has to go to a dangerous Browns team because the Browns have proven that they can play well at home. They have proven that. And then
Mm-hmm.
they have the Texans, the Steelers, and at the Broncos. So if you look at the schedule and how the schedule breaks down, that's why tomorrow is such a must win. Because
Yeah.
there's a possibility that Kansas City's gonna lose maybe one or a couple of those games. But if Kansas City runs this table or at least gets to where they get a playoff spot, and you look at that tough schedule, especially now that they got to go to Pittsburgh on Christmas on Netflix, that's a big game feel. But everything is laid out. But you know it's funny because you look at that last game against the Patriots. That's the classic game where the Bills we're gonna lose. That's the classic Bills game. They could go to New England and lose that game for no apparent reason when
I
everything is
can
laid
I can
out for
definitely
them.
see it.
Yeah,
I could say that the Jets game too. The Jets game could be a trap game as well.
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. That's why tomorrow's a must win because if Kansas City goes in and beats Cleveland, they'll be 13-1 and Buffalo will be 10-4. That means with what? They got what 3 games to play, but
Yeah,
it's 3 games to play, but Buffalo holds the tiebreaker. So that's what I'm saying. They hold the tiebreaker. So that's why it's so critical. Yeah, man. Now, so give me your prediction, Larry. Who you got tomorrow? You got Buffalo, you got Detroit. I'll start. I got the Detroit Lions, man. I think the Lions have been grossly underrated. I feel like the Lions have been just grossly disrespected, man. So I'm gonna give it to the Detroit Lions.
the total is 54.5. That's a lot. They expected a lot of points in this one.
Yeah,
I'm going to take Detroit as well.
because really, you look at Detroit, they beat Minnesota, they beaten the Packers. They beaten these teams. Um, so we'll see definitely. Now, last
I
game of
will
this.
say
Go ahead, go ahead.
before we jump, I will say don't be surprised if Buffalo can win this game though.
Oh, I won't be, but I think Detroit's got it. Now, real quickly, we're gonna go to this game before we get to our last few segments. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. This is a rivalry game. Let me go back to my stats here real quick, Larry, because I actually have those stats as well as far as that series. And of course, Philadelphia has surprisingly, I'm not gonna say surprisingly, but because of course, the Steelers have 6 championships, the Eagles have one, so they lead in that department. But overall, when you look at just the history of these two franchises, the Eagles lead the series 49 to 29. It's 29, 3 with 3 ties. The last game they played was ironically in 2022, where it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles won 35-13. The Steelers' last win against the Eagles came in 2020 when they beat them 38-29. So, looking at the history of this, looking at the rivalry, you look at the quote unquote drama, whatever they're talking about with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. You know how I feel about Pittsburgh. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I got Pittsburgh winning tomorrow. I think that with Warren back, you got Najee Harris. They're going to run the football. Russell Wilson, without Pickens, they're going to make timely throws. This is a critical game for the Eagles. Critical. But I think Pittsburgh takes it.
Um, I think this is going to be a really grit and grind type of game where I think
Somebody's getting hurt
Philly.
tomorrow. Somebody's getting hurt
Oh,
tomorrow.
oh, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
This is, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you what, bro. If I was the Eagles, I would surprise everybody to have Brian Dawkins ring a bell tomorrow, come out and do his little, because this is going to be one of those games where somebody's getting a FedEx package on Monday.
Yeah, I believe it. Philly
And
in
don't
the
forget, don't forget the
last
return. Don't forget the return of Kenny Pickett, possibly.
Philly in the last since week 10, Philly's run defense. Now 97, 93, and 92. I know that's not
Yeah,
a lot, but once you get to 166 against the Ravens, and then you gave up 118 to the Panthers in a game where the Panthers could have won that game, that draws some concerns right there. So I'm with you when
drop
you
pass
say
away, a drop pass away, a
I'm
drop
with
pass away,
you
man.
when you say you got the Steelers tomorrow because now they know the issues that Philly has going on. Philly's offense has going on. You know what? I understand it. I understand this. But let me say this. I've never seen a more disgruntled franchise in my life. You've won 9 games in a row and you got problems within your locker room. You win 9 games in a row. You sitting at what is their record? They're 11-2. They're
11
sitting
and
at
two,
11 and
dog.
2. You would think that you wouldn't have all these issues and all these problems. Man, first of all, let me say this. Now I know AJ Brown is a man. He's a beast. I know that. I know you got a weapon in Devontae Smith, but you know what type of offense you're going into. You know this team likes to run the ball. You know they got Saquon Barkley in the offseason for a reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay,
You're a
say if
super team.
they
Hey, you're a super team. There ain't no excuse why you ain't winning this division. And I just feel like the Eagles play. Hate to interrupt you, but and you can go on with your point. And I think we're kind of getting. I think you want to say it so bad, but you want to be not politically correct. But they feel like they want to be the underdogs so bad. Dogs, you're not the underdogs. You're a super team. Come on.
or they want to feel like they want to blow teams out every game. And it's like, bro, these are other professional teams. Like, man, they're
This is the
scheming up to get you.
NFL. This is not
Yeah, man.
college.
So all right, you got Jalen Hurts, who now he's gotta go in with a game plan. Okay, if I don't get AJ Brown the ball, then what's gonna happen? Okay, now Devontae Smith. Okay, he's disgruntled about his touches too. Okay, well, what if you take away from Saquon? Okay, I'm pretty sure Saquon would probably be like, you know what? Hey, I'm fine with it because Saquon's just that model citizen. That's model citizen,
Yeah.
as we've seen in New York. But what if you start taking touches away from him? Okay, and don't forget about Dallas Goddard, a very exceptional elite tight end. Like,
Oh,
I
by the
mean,
way, you
like,
got Johan Dotson too, just sitting there in the wings,
not being used.
just
Uh,
sitting there.
I mean, oh, don't no, Kenneth Gainwell as well. I mean, you got all these pieces, and for you to be struggling with teams like you do, I don't know.
And
Eh,
let's not even mention Grant Caltera.
yeah,
He's
backup tight
another
end.
weapon. He's another weapon who's really good. And I'm sorry if I butcher his name a little bit. I mean, not only that, but let's also look at the other things. You also got Kenneth Gainwell, who on another team could probably go for a K.
Could probably be a starter on some teams.
Yeah. And not only that, now let me go further. You even got Will Shipley from Clemson, who's sitting on your bench who could be a really good player. So the
And
Eagles have
even
weapons everywhere.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Everywhere.
I mean, and don't forget a certain receiver got released yesterday. And they're gonna be vouching to get him. You don't even use the receivers that you have now. So I don't get it, man. It's just they're
If
just
if
always
if
trying,
yeah,
man.
I can see either one of these teams bringing that certain receiver in, especially one of these teams to do it in spite of the New York Giants. Um, but let's be honest here. Let's be honest here, Larry. Let's look at it. Larry, how many games did Russell Wilson miss? He missed like what 4 games to start the season. I think it was like four games or whatnot. Um,
Yeah, I
one
believe it was
thousand seven
4.
hundred eighty-four yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 103.9 rating. Jalen Hurts, 2,602 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a 102.4 rating. And let's be really honest here. Russell Wilson has nowhere near the weapons that 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 Jalen Hurts has. And if you're Jalen Hurts and you're this, and this is my problem, I told people come into the season, I worry about this offense a little bit because yes, you're going to do some great things, but we've seen Kellen Moore in the past have these top 5 offenses, and all of a sudden things kind of go a little bit. Should you have ran the ball? And see, Larry, when you look at, and I know this game doesn't really matter to a lot of people, but we look at the whole landscape. When you look at that Falcons game, going back to early in the season where they should have won that game, that's the type of game where you look at in the playoffs and they do something similar to that, and you're like, bad habits come up at the worst time.
Yeah,
That's why you don't accept the things in a loss that you would accept. Like Shannon Sharp said, I believe you don't accept the things you do in a loss that you do in a win. So even though
yeah,
you win the game, don't accept the bad habits because in a loss you wouldn't accept it.
right.
Don't accept the bad habits in a win or a loss. And the Eagles have a tendency to have bad habits. Not only that, Larry, you got to go back to their schedule. Barely beating the Browns. They've had games where it's been very close and they luck things out. You can't do that, especially if you're going to playoffs facing a Detroit Lions team. No, sirree. Detroit ain't gonna play
Yeah,
with them. Detroit is
no,
not gonna play with them. You haven't got to even go back and look at the Saints. They barely beat the Saints early in the season. The Eagles are a really good team, but I feel, and I'm gonna say this too, Larry. Jalen Hurts has to make sure he keeps his head on the swivel, keeps playing his best ball. Because if there are some free agent quarterbacks or some quarterbacks who may be available in the next couple of years, if this team feels like they can get a better quarterback, they will. Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts has benefited. And I get it, folks. Eagles fans, Philadelphia, you hate me at times because I try to tell you the truth about Joel Embiid. I accept the truth. I grew up a Cowboys fan. I accept the truth about what they are. I accept the truth about what my teams are. A lot of you all need to accept the truth out there that at times Jalen Hurts, as great as he can be, is the biggest liability on the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Am I lying? Like I know people don't want to say that, but he is the biggest liability on that offense if you do not protect him.
Mm.
And he's not Lamar Jackson. Let's get it straight. Lamar Jackson can win MVPs. Lamar Jackson can sling the ball. You have to protect Jalen Hurts.
You do.
You do. And that's just the reality. Give the ball to Saquon. Play action. Get the ball to Kenneth Gainwell. Play smash mouth football. Getting cute and have a top 5 offense does not win championships. Look at Kansas City. Look at Kansas City. Look at Kansas City. Think about this. Think about this. They have 2 running backs now. Since Pacheco came back, they're going to play smash mouth football. They're going to play opportunistic offense. It's not about the numbers. It's about the execution. And again, going back to that Falcons game, the execution was horrible. And even more of a concern, look at the Bucks game.
Mm.
Go back and look at the Bucks game, even though they had some injuries. So, for me, Larry, in my opinion, in my strongest opinion of the day, I'm going to predict that the Steelers win this game 23-17. What is your prediction?
I predict I think the Eagles will win this game, but it's gonna be close.
Yeah,
I think the Eagles win this game, but I want to say this.
go ahead.
You know the Steelers have an elite defense. So what's going to happen tomorrow if AJ Brown is covered?
Well, I'm gonna put it to you like this. Can I also say this, Larry? And I think that the reason, again, like especially tonight, and tonight's whole Heisman being highlighted by a possible defensive player winning is very important. I feel if TJ Watt comes out tomorrow, and mind you, here's another thing that's really important. Highsmith coming back for the Steelers has been very important and very critical for that football team. It's been critical. And I understand people don't worry about the defense like they used to, etc. But the defensive side is so critical. And if we go to actual TJ Watt's stats, he has 33 solo tackles, 14 assisted. He has 9.5 sacks. If he has a big game tomorrow, trust me, I want to put his name in the MVP conversation. Because this Steelers team has no business having as many wins right now as they do. Let's just be honest. This team is 10-3. There is no reason the Pittsburgh Steelers should be 10-3. Come into the season, knowing what's happened in the past years with their quarterback play, the so-called washed quarterback of the century, Russell Wilson, how they are 10-3, it's wild. So if they're at this point where they're 10-3, Larry, what's gonna happen when this team hasn't hit their stride yet? They don't have Pickens. They don't have Pickens. And to your point, that was brilliant. What you said was just absolutely brilliant a few minutes ago. Imagine Steelers getting Odell Beckham and putting him at your 3rd or 4th wide receiver position. Think about that. You have Austin already. You have these little speedy receivers. There you can get free agent wide receivers, etc. The Steelers are dangerous. And this is a critical game tomorrow for the Philadelphia Eagles. If Pittsburgh goes into Philadelphia and wins that game, the conversation changes, Larry. The conversation changes. Because now you're looking at Pittsburgh having 11 wins, being a game behind the Kansas City Chiefs, going to that Christmas Day game on Netflix. It changed the game, Larry.
Well, and I'm going to tell you another thing to look at. Well, how going into the playoffs, how will Russ game be able to change? Like, how much are you going to keep relying on the F it George down there somewhere? How long are you going to keep relying on this? Because I mean, I've been watching Russell Wilson for the last couple of years. I mean, I've been watching him since for his whole career. But that's just a concern for me. So I think that the run game for Pittsburgh is definitely going to have to be superb, not only just this matchup, but going forward.
Oh no, I agree with you. But see, the thing is, that's the thing. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. You look at their run game. Warren, Jalen Warren is the key. Even though Najee Harris will get the accolades, he'll get the pub and all that. You put Jalen Warren in that offense, and he's going, he's not hurt, and you have that 1-2 dynamic. Defenses are gonna have issues,
Can
especially
we
Jalen Warren.
agree?
Go ahead.
Can we agree? Can we agree that we expected more from Najee Harris coming out of the draft? I
We do,
expected him to
but I
be.
thought it was gonna. I thought honestly it's gonna take time. But 223 carries so far this year, 877 yards, 5 touchdowns, no fumbles. He has a big game tomorrow. Now, here's the other thing. If you're Pittsburgh, there are a hell of a lot of good running backs in this draft coming up. I'm not saying they can get an
Yes,
Ashton
it
Genty or
is.
anything, but what I'm saying is, man, this is for if you're Najee Harris, if you don't get a deal from Pittsburgh, you're gonna get a deal somewhere next year.
Yeah,
You're gonna get a deal from somebody. He's still a really, really good running back. And I don't think he's yet hit his stride. But tomorrow, like I said, tomorrow in the Kansas City game, to me, Larry, can really change the narrative about Najee Harris. It's not about what you've done so far, it's how you finish. Check this out. You got the Eagles this week. You're at Baltimore next week. You're at Kansas City on Christmas Day. And then you end the season with that horrible Bengals defense, which Rico Dowd just went for 131 yards and could have had 200 yards on Cincinnati if Dallas would have ran the ball more with Cooper Rush at quarterback. So what is he going to do against the Bengals? He could possibly go for 200. So there's no reason Najee Harris, hoping he doesn't get injured, no reason he should not be having well over 1,400 yards by the time this season ends. Come on, man.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
For the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, sir.
Don't run away from the run game. Ask Lamar Jackson what he did in the AFC Championship game.
Larry, I'm telling you right now, I know Kellen Moore better than a lot of people know Kellen Moore as far as watching him up close and personal. When he had a real running game, there were times where Dallas would get away from the running game. If you look at last year, just honestly, look at the difference between the Chargers offense this year and the Chargers offense this year from last year. Kellen Moore will do some great things, my friend, but at times he'll make you scratch your head. That's why I look at him sometimes sideways when they talk about him being a possible head coach. Now, everybody, our topics are done. Let's get to our last two segments. Let's get to our first one where we tell somebody to, Larry,
Shut the hell up.
Shut the hell up.
I need you to shut the hell up for the immediate future.
All right, we got about 7 minutes to go. Give you about a minute, Larry. Do you think? Who do you want to shut the hell up, my friend?
I know who I'm telling shut the hell up, man. Shut the hell up to the Philadelphia fans. Plain simple. Plain simple.
Are we talking about overall here? We talking about overall?
I mean, over football season. I mean, because it's football season. I mean, we got basketball season too. But I mean, mostly the Eagles fan, just because everything that's going on. But just in general, man, it's like no matter what, you cannot make these fans happy to save their lives, man. Like I don't get it. You're 11-2 or whatever the fucking excuse me 11 whatever the record is, and it's like you still complain. Your baseball team, granted the fact, I mean, you lose in the postseason, but in the regular season, I guess they see things that the average fan that doesn't really pay attention to that team, I guess they see things that we don't see. But I mean, my God, I never seen such a franchise, city just always and stressed out. My God.
Well, look,
I'm a Knicks fan.
Well, look, Larry. The thing is, they can't get mad at us about the Sixers because if they go back to our videos we did before the season, I already told them what was going to happen. Right? Then we already told them what was going to happen. I mean, I understand the Flyers aren't winning. They ain't doing much these days. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. You already know what my shut the hell up segment is going to be about. My shut the hell up segment is to the media at large, the corporate media. Stop weaponizing Caitlin Clark. To the Democrats, shut the hell up. To the Republicans, shut the hell up. To everybody, just shut the hell up. The Washington Mystics owner, I'm not gonna tell her shut the hell up because I possibly get credentials through her this season. So, man, whatever you say is all right with me. God bless you. Anyway, but and I agree with the Mystics. With the Mystics owner a little bit. I feel like that the whole WNBA should have been spotlighted as the Woman of the Year. The whole WNBA in a sense, because first of all, Indiana didn't even win a championship. They didn't even win a playoff game. They didn't even get to the next round. And Caitlin Clark, let me go to her statement if I can find it really quick here. Let me see if I can find it. Do I have it here? Blah blah blah. Basically, she's like, I know my privilege. Blah blah blah. Blah, blah. Listen, white people, I'm talking to you. You ain't got to listen. Stop feeling guilty about things. You ain't got to make me feel better about myself. Black people, stop trying to get white people to make you feel guilty about everything. America, it's 2025. Can we cut the racial crap? It's 2024, about to be 25. Can we cut the racial stuff, please? Caitlin Clark is a really good basketball player. But the fact is, guess what? She has not won a championship. She has not won an NCAA championship. She chokes in. This is the bottom line. She chokes in the clutch. Larry, did she not go? Did her three-point shooting not suck in the NCAA championship games?
Oh man,
They were
do we have to
horrible.
talk about the attempts?
Oh my God, they were
Like
horrible.
20-something attempts.
Let's just stick to the facts, okay? All of you WNBA people who don't like the league, you complain about what all these years? Oh, the women aren't feminine enough. The women are feminine now. You're still mad. You're still angry. You're still upset about everything. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like, shut up. Shut the hell up. It's like everything that you wanted, the league, and the thing that Caitlin Clark is, you don't have to apologize. Nobody cares about my privilege. Black women don't need you to apologize for them. Nope. They were doing great things in this league a long time ago. Okay? Like, especially like people talking about like Cheryl Swoops, stuff like that. Cheryl Swoops won a national championship scoring 47 points with Texas Tech. Texas Tech. And here's the bottom line. Iowa had a pretty damn good team last year, okay? That's not like Iowa didn't have a good team. People are like, oh, Iowa just came to see. No, Iowa beat Tennessee back in what was 93, and they were in the Final Four, I believe. You know what I mean? So yes. Iowa has had good basketball teams.
Yeah.
So please, again, for everybody the media, the corporate media, the Republicans, the Democrats who want to use race to push papers, ratings, instead of focusing on the things that are really important, like neighborhoods, education. Shut the hell up. Now that I'm done with that crap, let's go to tell the world how you feel. Larry, we got 2 minutes to go, man. Tell the world how you feel.
You want to go ahead and go, because
man, I'm out of breath, man.
Dag, tell the world how I feel.
You ain't got to be sports related. It can be anything, brother.
That it wasn't sports related. I just said it was right at the tip of my brain, and there it's gone now. I don't know. Go ahead, because maybe it'll come to me.
I got you. All right, my tell the world how I feel, folks, is just basically this. Everybody, it's Christmas time. It's that time of year where people are, I said this before, people are going through things, etc. Just be kind to people, man. Be kind to people. Understand people are going through things. People out there, you don't have to feel obligated to buy gifts. You don't have to feel obligated to do this or that. Listen, just get through this month of December. Start the year off brand new. Republicans and Democrats, come together. Everybody, come together. Because I'm sick and tired of seeing so many of these things out here where life is just so, life is just right now in a sense of craziness. We have people celebrating a man getting killed in New York City. What is wrong with us? What are we doing? We celebrate death now? You women out there think that this guy is, it's just like us men, when there's a woman who commits a crime, like, oh, she's a baddie. No, she's a bad person. You women, you're celebrating this man. No, he's a bad person. He's a bad person. You know, healthcare is expensive. Everything is expensive. You're gonna get violent? No, you're not. Stop getting violent. Violence does not change anything. Love, care, everybody. All right, that's my tell the world how I feel. Larry,
All
tell the
right.
world how you feel, brother.
So,
Yours is
some
funny, I can tell.
some people may laugh, but when I say this, I'm being very serious about this. If you are an aspiring artist, whether you do rap or whether you just do art
Are you
or
talking about
any
Dave
sort of
Blunt's? Are you talking about Dave Blunt's trying to put down the cup?
no, 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 no. But what I am gonna say is, Boss Man D-Lo just dropped this album yesterday. Now, on this album, he ain't talking about jack shit, but I've been rocking to it. It's been in heavy rotation all weekend. So, all to aspiring artists, hey man, I don't care how long it takes. Keep crafting your dream and your vision how you want to, because if that man can get on those records and make them sound good and make my head bob like this and says nothing, hey bro, keep going, keep doing it, keep doing it.
Listen, and we have an artist right now who's big time because he's telling people, you know, he's like 4, 5, 600 pounds, telling people that put down the cup, telling people, hey Snoop Dogg, get off my Snoop Dogg. Hey Chicago, do you mind me sitting down on this couch? Exactly. Get off my Snoop Dogg, because I can't put down the cup. And look, I'm gonna leave this at this. This is the funniest part. Go listen to some Dave Blunts. Who's Julian? Who the f is Julian? In other words, what Larry is saying, music is so trash now. If you can't make it there, you can't make it anywhere. Bye.
It's caught in the crossfire.